But what is the greatest gift that you've ever received? And I know, like in church, we jump to like salvation. That's a gift. That's a great gift. The gift of my children. I mean, that's such a special gift as a dad, your kids. But one of the greatest gifts that you've ever received is something that you never asked for, and you actually got that gift before you even born, and that's God put your mother in your life. And so as I think about me and I think about others, like you agree with that one of the greatest gifts you've ever received is something that you received before you even born. That's the gift of your precious mother. Some people, I was looking up some quotes about what people say about mothers, and one of them, somebody said, a mother is your first friend, your best friend, and your forever friend. Now, these aren't necessarily, people of faith. This is just some worldly insight or some poets or whatever that might have said things about mothers. When you are looking at your mother, you are looking at the purest love you will ever know. Mother is the heartbeat in the home. Without her, there seems to be no heartthrob. Mothers are like glue. Even when you can't see them, they're still holding the family together. My mother, she is beautiful, softened at the edges and tempered with a spine of steel. I want to grow old and be just like her. The influence of a mother in the lives of her children is beyond calculation. I agree. It may be possible to gild pure gold, but who can make his mother more beautiful? Gandhi said that. Youth fades. Love droops. The leaves of friendship fall. A mother's secret hope outlives them all. Motherhood is the... Hold on, let me move on from that one. Okay, only mothers can think of the future because they give birth to it in their children. My mother was my role model before I even knew what that word meant. To describe my mother would be to write about a hurricane in its perfect power. Maya Angelou said that. But the Bible also obviously says some things about motherhood. And the Bible offers some just easy instructions about parents and motherhood. In Exodus, many of you know this. Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Leviticus, every one of you shall revere his mother and his father, and you shall keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. So the Bible says to honor and revere your mother. I think my kids honor and revere their mother because my wife, their mother, can sometimes be frightening. And so they probably revere her a little bit. She might be a little bit scary. So tonight I want to talk about just the gift of mothers in the faith. Gift of mothers in the faith. We're going to look at a passage in 2 Kings chapter 4 is where we'll be. 2 Kings chapter 4. If you have your Bible, go to 2 Kings chapter 4. Wow. Maybe that's an old man thing that's happening right now. Somebody said yesterday, they're like, it's going to happen and things are going to start changing. Something about 40. I'm like, leave me alone, people. I get it. I'm over the hill, sliding down the other side of the hill into a pit. The gift of mothers in the faith. First point that I want to make tonight is the other mother in the faith. So you're in 2 Kings where we have Elisha. He is the prophet in Israel. Elijah has moved on in a pretty incredible fashion. One thing that Elisha wanted, he knew he was going to be taking up the role, the mantle, the office of prophet in the nation of Israel. One of the things he wanted, he said, I want a little bit more of a portion. I want double what you got. And so God's like, okay, we'll make that work. And it happens. Like Elisha, it seems, if you want to like count verses and count interactions, it seems like Elisha has more interactions with a lot of people and has some incredible things that happen in his life. So Elisha is who we're talking about here. So in verse 8, one day Elisha went on to Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to eat some food. So whenever he passed that way, he would turn in there to eat food. So this is just a lady. She's got a decent house. And Elisha, this prophet, like all prophets, there were somewhat nomadic, unless you were maybe in exile, that kind of thing. But for the most part, a lot of the prophets, they weren't real bound to a certain place. They might have to travel to give a message to somebody, or they might have to give a message or hear a message from somebody else and pass it on to somebody. So Elisha was one of the ones that kind of moved around a good bit. And so there was a lady here in this Shunem place, and she would always urge him to eat. Say, hey, like he would be coming through and be like, hey, come here. Like, why don't you take a load off, pal? You look tired. Give him some food, that kind of thing. She would always urge him. In verse 9, and she said to her husband, behold now, I know that this is a holy man. He's a holy man of God who is continually passing our way. So he's traveling through here often. Let us make a small room on the roof with walls. I'm glad she put that. That's helpful. With walls, and put there for him a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so that whenever he comes to us, he can just live there. And so this lady is no relation, doesn't even really know him that well, just that he's like this great guy. He passes through a lot. Hey, let's renovate our home. Let's put him a room, and let's give him some furniture. And so whenever he passes through here, he doesn't, like some people like just let him just kind of sleep on their porch or something like that. But let's put a Holiday Inn up on our roof for him. Like, let's give him something that's nice. So sometimes here's what I'm so thankful for. That when I think about mothers in the faith, for one, I'm very grateful for my own mother. But I'm also grateful for other mothers in the faith. I'm grateful for people in my life that have come along my way as I'm passing through. And they, in a sense, have said, I'm going to put a room on my roof for you. They've helped mother me in a way. So here's what you got to be thankful for. You got to be thankful for the other mothers in your life. Now think about that for a minute. Who has been another mother of faith in your life? Now it could be that some of you, when you think about your own biological mother, she is not a mother of faith. But God, in His goodness and His grace and His love for you and His kindness for you, He has offered to give you other mothers of faith that have been motherly. And you know who they are. You can sit back and think about them. You think about those people that have kind of carried you through something. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I told them Happy Mother's Day, and they don't have children, but they're very motherly. And there's a lot of people in their life that if they were to say, I wish I could change my mom, then they would probably pick her. So even if you're not a biological mother, many of you are so motherly to people. I'm grateful for you. Other people are grateful for you. You also, if you don't have children, and even if you do have children, like take that opportunity. See, God puts people in your life, and you shelter them. You put walls up for them. You give them a lamp and a table. You're being another mother. So God has put you in a place for you to be another mother, but also God has put other mothers in your life as well. And it sounds weird me saying other mother, another mother. Like, I know it's kind of getting tongue-tied. And I didn't drop that one yet. Hopefully I won't. But here, the truth and the glorious point here is that nobody, especially in the faith, and that's the key here, the other mothers in the faith, nobody in the faith should ever feel like they don't really have a mom. Because as the family of God meets together, as the family of God cares for one another, we take care of one another, we see each other through things, then God puts other mothers in our life. Be thankful for that. If you have somebody, let me give you a challenge for you, okay? If you have someone else in your life, even if you have had a great mom, if there's been some other person in your life that has, in a sense, built a room on their roof for you, not literally, but you know what I mean. They've made some sacrifices to mother you. You ought to reach out to them before today's over. And look them up, call them up, and say, hey, we hadn't talked in a while. I want to tell you Happy Mother's Day. Even if they don't have kids. They might not have kids. But what you can do is you can tell them, I was in a sense passing through, like I often did, and you were the one that always would wave me down and say, you look tired. Let me build a room on my roof for you. But it's not that. That's Elisha's story with this lady. But what's your story? It's something. Because I know there's a lot of mothers out there. Maybe you should look that person up and you should say, hey, thanks for being a mother to me. Here's Paul in Romans 16. If you've read through Romans, at the end of Romans, he goes through all these people that he's thankful for. He's telling somebody, hey, make sure that person does this, and tell them hello, that kind of thing. He says in verse 13 of chapter 16, he says, greet Rufus. I think Rufus is probably a mechanic. Greet Rufus, chosen in the Lord, also his mother, who has been a mother to me as well. So here's Paul, centuries later, who's passing through, planting churches, sharing the gospel, and he thinks of Rufus's mom. Tell her Happy Mother's Day. So I don't know who Rufus's mom is in your life, but look her up. Tell her Happy Mother's Day. Some of the best moms that you'll ever have are other people's moms. So later on, if you have a story of somebody else being a mom to you, I want to hear about somebody else building walls and building a room for you in your life. So the first thing that I want to pull out, the gift of a mother, or the gift of mothers in the faith, is the other mother in the faith. Number two, the content mother in the faith. One day, here we're back in 2 Kings, one day he came there and he turned into the chamber and rested there. And he said to Gehazi, that's his servant, call the Shunammite. When he had called her, he stood before him and he said to him, say now to her, see, you have taken all this trouble for us. What is to be done for you? Now he's like, I feel like I need to pay you for this room you've built for me. Like you put up a space for me on top of your house. Like I feel like I should do something. What do you want me to do? What do you want me? And he goes on to say, he's like, would I have spoken a word on your behalf to the king? Why would Elisha say that? Because the prophet in that day, like whether he had an entourage or whether he traveled by himself, everybody knew who the prophet was. He was basically untouchable. He would say things in a giant populated place, and he would offer horrible messages sometimes, and nobody could touch him because God's anointing was on him. So he would show up, and he would say something, and he would leave, and he's like, y'all deal with that. You need to repent like God says. And so the prophet was somebody that was feared, just admired, somebody that you would run up to if you had a problem, that kind of thing. So he knows people. He's got some connections. That's why he says, well, I don't need to pay you back. You want me to say something to the king on your behalf or the commander of the army? And she answered, I dwell among my own people. Basically, here's Elisha, who knows everybody that there is to know. And Elisha's passing through, and this lady's like, hey, you should stay over here. We'll take care of you. He's like, that's very nice of you. Later on, he's like, I'm going to pay her back. I know everybody. So-and-so's got a great thing happening over here. I can get you set up. You can be like important over here. And she's just very content. She's like, I dwell among my own people. I'm good. No, you don't have to do that. He's trying to pay her back. He's like, no. Look, this is something that I'm doing for you. You don't have to try to pay me back. And he said, what then is to be done for her? Gehazi answered, well, she has no son, and her husband is old. He said to her, call her. And when he called her, she stood in the doorway, and he said, at this season, about this time next year, you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my Lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant. Now here's what she's saying. She is very content with what she has, but she also she's not trying to get anything out of the situation. Which that's a pretty good lesson right there for us, I think. I mean, and most times when somebody has something really great that they can offer you, if we're honest, like we might want to get a little slice of that pie. I've talked to people, I've had friends in my life that are very, very wealthy. And all those people that have a lot of money, you can tell people treat them different based upon their status, based upon how much money they have. And I've told people before, it's like, I'll never treat you different. If you have $5 or $50 million, I don't want to treat you different. And so here's Here's somebody who's content. She's content with what she has. Moms in the faith, the best moms in the faith, they're content moms. In Philippians chapter 4, Paul says, "Not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned that in every situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound, and in any and every circumstance I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger and abundance and need." So if you're a mother, or if you mother anyone, one of the greatest gifts you can give to your kids is learning the secret of being content. Being content. That's kind of a tricky thing. Are you content with what you have? Here's a way you can kind of determine whether or not you're content. This is for guys and gals alike, okay? So if you don't know if you're content, ask yourself this question. Do you complain a lot? Do I complain a lot? So here's what complainers do. People who are complaining, they're complaining about something not going their way or something. Now, granted, it could be something that's right to complain about. But sometimes there's just things that don't go our way and they never will go our way. Do you complain? Are you a complainer? Now, you might say, I don't think I complain a whole lot. But let's ask the people that are closest to you. Do they complain a whole lot? Now, here's the thing. If you complain a lot, you're probably not very content with what you have. People who are content, here's how they're content, they're grateful, and they just don't complain a whole lot. Here's what this lady didn't do. You would do that? You would give me a son? All I do is whine and moan and complain about not having a son. And I'm old now, and we're done. My husband, you've seen him? He can barely hear. You got to throw something at him to get his attention. But so, I'm with my people. I'm good. A content mom is a great mom. She didn't really want anything in return. She didn't even really ask for the longing of her heart. Every mother in this day and time, they knew that their legacy or their hope for a future was solely based on whether or not they had kids. She's very content. Number 3, let's keep moving. So we have mothers in the faith. We have other mothers in the faith. We have the content of the mother, the content mother of the faith. Number 3, the blessed mother in the faith. Verse 17, 2 Kings, but the woman conceived, and she bore a son about that time the following spring, as Elisha said to her. Look, moms, I know many of you have kids or growing up. Maybe some of your kids are not even, you haven't even seen their face yet. One of the greatest experiences of my life is seeing my kids' face for the first time. And I've talked to them. They've heard my songs through the belly kind of thing, and then I get to see their face. You get to see what hair color, if there is any hair, that kind of thing, and it's awesome. But the blessed mother in the faith, we also know that, look, it's difficult. Being a parent, I've watched mom after mom after mom just suffer. But keep praying. Keep trusting. Keep walking with God. Look, God blesses the mother in the faith. Hold fast to Jesus. Keep paying attention to Him. Keep loving Him. Now here's the thing. Your blessing might not be just like this Shunammite woman. It might not be tangibly right in front of you in this life. A lot of times our blessings may be outside of our sight and outside of our reach, but He will bless you. God will bless the mother in the faith. That woman, she conceived and she bore a son about that following spring. Number 4, you have the blessed mother, you have the other mother, you have the content mother, but you also have the grieved mother. Now we have this lady who's even older. Let's pick up with our story. When the child had grown, he went out one day to his father among the reapers. He was helping. And he said to his father, "Oh, my head, my head." And the father said to his servant, "Carry him to his mother." And when he had lifted him up and brought him to his mother, the child sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. So it was a pretty good story, right? Till about then. We know that one of the hardest things in this life is to love somebody as a mother loves a child, as a father loves a child. It's very difficult. And packed along that difficulty is just grief. She was old and up in age, and she should never have to bury her son. This promise, this blessing from God, just doesn't make sense. Now, there's a lot of things that when we look at this life, there's a lot of things that just like, this just doesn't make sense. And we know life is hard. Being a parent is hard. Being a mother is hard. But sometimes we will face pain. Mothers, you know it's hard being a mom. And it's different. Being a dad is different than being a mom. Like, there's a different kind of just weight on the mom than there is on the dad. It's clearly evident in this story. The young man comes to the father and says, I don't know what's going on. And then he gets faint and his head's hurting. And then he's like, what does he say? He says, carry him to his mother. This child of mine is in distress. What he needs more than anything right now is to be in the arms of his mother. Carry him to his mother. And in the arms of his mother, the Bible says, he sat on her lap till noon, and then he died. When you're a mother, you know, when you sign up for that, you know it will be hard. You will face great difficulties. You will see your children grow up and go away. You will see your children make decisions that you know will cause them pain, and you want to just snatch that decision out of their hand, but you can't. You will see struggle after struggle after struggle, and you'll carry a lot of that pain, a lot of that weight, a lot of that burden, a lot of those tears will cause you to cry. I remember when I was in the 6th grade, I had a difficult time because I moved into a new town, and I was picked on some by new friends of mine, and I remember my mom just wanted to be like, if I could do something, I just want to peel their heads off. Like, she was, like, I'm like, it's okay. Like, I'll deal with it. Like, a mom will grieve. Part of being a mother is you're going to grieve, okay? Every good mom in the faith, when their child splats and gets hurt, there's pain that you feel with that. I don't know what it is. Sometimes as I see so many people grieve about so many things, and it causes other people to grieve, and I'm like, I wish that maybe God could untie that line. When somebody is suffering through something, there's a mom somewhere else suffering through that. 90% of the time, when I'm driving down the road and I see somebody on the corner somewhere, 90% of the time, I look at that person, and I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe maybe we all know that there's a strand that's tied from somebody suffering. The other end of that strand is a mom somewhere. And what I say to myself is, there's a mama praying for that baby right there. There's a mama who's upset right now. That's somebody's baby. But we know that being a mom is, you're going to grieve. It's part of it. And so some people might logically say, well, if there's a whole lot of pain that comes with that, then I'm not gonna be a mom. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have anything to do with being a parent if it just means I'm going to hurt and suffer. Yeah, but part of that pain as you grieve with somebody is part of how God shows us his love through other people, especially somebody like a mother. Because God knows what grief and grieving and pain is all about. The grieved mother in the faith, the strong mother in the faith. So now this lady her son's dead. Dead. Not feeling bad, dead. She went up and she laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door behind him, and then she left. So here's this woman. Obviously, she's probably pretty strong. Now she's carrying up her dead son. Goes up to the prophet suite at the top, lays him on the bed, and then leaves, closed the door. Then she called her husband and said, now her husband's still plowing the row, right? He's out in the field with the reapers. The last time he checked, his son was like, my head. And he's like, the best thing you need is to be with your mom right now. So go be with your mom. He's with mom. He lays there for a while and then dies. So now here she is, this is the best part, I think, of the story, the strong mother in the faith. So she closed the door, she went out, and she called her husband and said, send me one of your servants and one of the donkeys that I may quickly go to the man of God and come back again. And he said, why will you go to him today? It's neither noon nor Sabbath. Now the husband is asking, like, what's the deal? Why are you going to go seek him out? And then she said, all is well. I don't know, we don't really know exactly what she's thinking in this moment. But here's what we do know. We do know she's had multiple conversations with this man of God. That's what she calls him. She doesn't even use his name. She said, I'm going to go talk to the man of God. She is walking in like deep faith in this moment. She had a conversation with this man of God before, and he said, you're going to have a son. And she's like, hold on a minute. Like, you don't have to do that. And then she had this son, and she raised this boy, and he's dead in her lap. And she takes him up, and then she says, all's well. This is strong faith right here. Then she saddled the donkey, and she said to her servant, urge the animal on. She basically says, hey, we are going from here to here, and we are not slowing down. And it was about 20 miles trip. And it wasn't an easy trip. It's not 20 miles on an interstate, okay, in a car. They're on a donkey. She's probably an older lady, and she's with one other person, a servant, and this is not an easy trip. She said, saddle up the donkey. We got to go right now, and urge the animal on. Do not slacken the pace for me unless I tell you. So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. So this 20-mile trip, she finally makes it to the man of God. When the man of God saw her coming, he said to Gehazi, his servant, look. He's like, there's my friend. There's the Shunammite. Run at once to meet her and say to her, is all well with you? Is all well with your husband? And how's your boy? How's your child doing? And she answered, again, all is well. She looks at the servant, all is well. Then she came to the mountain to the man of God, and she latched hold of his feet. So she knows, this is her faith. She knows all is not well. But she knows where she needs to go when all is not well. She needs to go right to the mouthpiece of God. She needs to go right to the spokesperson of God. She needs to go as close as she can possibly to the very throne of God, and that's what she did. She bypassed everybody else. The servant of the prophet came to her and says, hey, what's going on? Just leave me alone. And she finds Elisha, the man of God. And she laid hold of his feet. And then the servant came and pushed her away. He's like, hey, get out. You can't do that. What's wrong with you? You can't just run up to the prophet and like tackle his feet. But the man of God said, leave her alone. Obviously, you can't tell, but leave her alone. She's in bitter distress. And the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me. Then she said to him, did I ask you? Did I ask you for a son? Did I not say, don't deceive me? You don't have to do that. This is this woman of faith. Obviously, she's exercising her faith because she took a 20-mile trip as an old person on a donkey to go find the man of God, telling everybody else, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then she goes to the man of God. Obviously, there's not a faith issue that's here, but she just says it just like this. Did I tell you to give me a son? She is hurt. She's crushed. This is the grieved mother in the faith who has a lot of faith, a strong faith. And she said, did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, don't deceive me? Then he said, the prophet said to Gehazi, tie up your garment. He says, roll up the bottom right here. You're about to hurry. Tie up your garment and take my staff in your hand, and you go. And as you go, if you meet anyone, do not greet them. Run right past them. If anybody greets you, don't even reply. When you get there, go up to the top floor. Go up to the prophet suite at the top. Lay my staff on the child, on the face of the child. Then the mother of the child said, as the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you. So he arose and he followed her. Gehazi went on ahead He got there sooner, and he laid the staff on the face of the child. But there was no sound or no sign of life. Therefore he returned. As they were en route, he returned to meet him and told him, the child is not awakened. When Elisha came to the house, he saw the child lying dead on his bed. Now, it's a few days have passed. I don't know what Dad is doing. Dad might still be working in the fields, and they might have like a worker's quarters or something like that. There might be maybe a mile or so away from their house working in I don't know. But the child is still in the prophet's bed. And this is because it was probably a couple of days trip there, and then maybe like one day back, because they're hurrying. Like, we've got to take care of this. And all of this is wrapped around and tangled up within the beautiful tapestry of a mother of faith who knows what she needs. She knows she needs to get to the man of God. When Elisha came to the house, he saw the child lying there dead on his bed. So he went in, and he shut the door behind the two of them, and he prayed to the Lord. So now the man of God is in the room with the dead child. And he went up, and he lay on the child. He put his face, his mouth on his mouth, his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands. And he stretched himself upon him. The flesh of the child became warm. And this is an interesting, kind of bizarre situation going on here. Elisha obviously is a man of faith. God listens to him. This Shunammite woman, she is obviously a woman of faith. And she lays hold of his feet. He says, you got to do something. And he gets there. Now he's laying on the dead guy. He stretched himself out on it. As he stretched himself upon him, the flesh of the child became warm. Verse 35. Then he got up again and walked back and forth in the house and went up and stretched himself upon him. The child sneezed 7 times. And the child opened his eyes. Then he summoned his servant and said, get the woman, call the Shunammite. So he called her. And when he came to him, he said, pick up your son. She came and fell at his feet, bowing to the ground. Then she picked up her son, and she went out. I love this story. Such a great story of a broken heart of a mom, a rock-solid faith of a mom, a mother who knows what she's content in what she has, and then God blesses her abundantly, and she's like, I don't deserve that. I don't need that. And then God blesses her with this son, and she loses her son. She rushes to the man of God. And there's so many stories in the Bible of mothers who we see just heart-wrenched. Hannah, before she had Samuel, she would go to Shiloh, to the temple, and she would pray, and people would watch her pray. They couldn't hear, but they could see her moving her mouth. And those people in that day, they weren't used to seeing somebody pray, and they weren't used to seeing somebody with faith like that, so they always thought that Hannah was drunk in the temple all the time. Look at her. She's pouring her heart out, praying, right? No, she ain't praying. She's been drinking some already today. There's story after story, and then not just in the Bible, but in your life. You can think about the grief upon the grief upon the grief of a mother. And if you stack that grief on top of faith of a mother, I'm convinced that we could take all the art, all the beautiful poems and music, and pile it all up together, and it wouldn't be anywhere near as beautiful as the faith, the strong faith of a woman, a mother who loves God and loves her children. And there's story after story. There's people in your life, there's other mothers in your life and in my life who have painted this beautiful picture of what the stress and the anxiety and the brokenness and the faith and the courage and the strength of a woman, a mother of faith. Talk about Hannah. Talk about Mary, the mother of Jesus. This young girl, and God promises this gift of the world through her, and she presses on in faith through that. She's at the cross, watching her son being crucified. And he looks at her at the cross, And the beloved disciple John is there too. And he looks at his mother and says, "Woman, behold your son." And he commissions John to care for his mother. Take care of my mom. That's one of the king of the universe dying on the cross for the sins of humanity. One of his requests is that somebody takes care of his earthly mother. Clearly, God understands the beauty of a woman, a mother of faith. A mother gives new life. Moms welcome and nurture. Aspire to God's high call and instruction. If you're a mom, if you're a mother sitting in one of these white chairs, my hat's off to you. Like I would love to just fall at your feet right now and say, just with all my heart, thank you. Thank you for being a mother. Some of you are stepping into motherhood. It's awesome. We got like, how many? We got like a 5 or 6, 20-something, 4. Matt's like 4. We know. We talk about it all the time. We got some mothers. They're about to step into that. It's a high call. It's high instruction from Scripture. It's grief. It's pain. It's heartache. But it's worth it. Walk with God as a mother of faith. And maybe you're in here and you're like, you know what, I've been a mother, but I'm not a very good mom. I'm looking around. I don't think that's anybody's story in here, but somebody might listen to this one day and think that they're a terrible mom. Well, when Jesus was perched up on that cross, what he did is he's looking at his mom dying. What he did is he looked into your heart and knew that because of what he is doing on the cross, that you have forgiveness of sin. So when you look at moms in the faith and you see other people's moms in the faith and they're strong, don't look at yourself and like bow your head and say, I've blown it. I'm a wreck. I've done everything wrong. You young mothers, look at the mothers that you've seen around you and don't say, I'll never be like that. Don't look at this Shunammite and say, I could never have that kind of faith. Look at those stories. Look at those beautiful pictures of a mother of faith and aspire to be that. One day somebody's going to talk about you. Some of you young moms. One day somebody's going to have a story about you. You're going to live this life as a mom. But accept God's grace and mercy and forgiveness now if you feel like you've failed as a mom. Ultimately, mothers show us the heart of God. That's ultimately what happens. In Isaiah 66:13, God says to his people, as one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Cameron, our youngest, he's 4. He's difficult to deal with. He's like full speed, 100 miles an hour. And when it's just me at the house, he's always asking, where's mom? And our door, all the doors when they open, bing, like front door. A door will open, and it might be Maggie coming in and out. It might be somebody else doing something in the house. He'll stop right what he's doing. Mom? And he'll go run into that door. I'm like, dude, she left like 4 minutes ago. Okay? You can wait. It's going to be all right. But there's something about a child and their mother. And all of that's designed by God. Because God, I think, and I believe this with all my heart, God wants us to see this love that we naturally need from a mom. Like God's like, you know, I'm like that. That's why he says to his people, as one whose mother comforts, like I will comfort you. So you shall be comforted in all of Jerusalem. So I'm convinced that everybody needs a mother. But more than that, I'm totally convinced that everybody needs Jesus. Everybody needs Jesus. So if you're here today, and maybe you have never received that precious gift of salvation, then today might be a good day for you to say, you know what? I need Jesus. Moms, happy Mother's Day. Be that other mother that somebody needs. Maybe you're not a mom. Or maybe your kids are grown. Like God has put some kind of motherly something in you. I don't get it. I don't have it. You do. You know it's there. Don't put that in a drawer and close that up. Use that. Use that motherly stuff that you have. And is there even a word for it? Walk with God. Have that courage and that faith to be a mom that aspires to be what God is calling you to be. And happy Mother's Day. Thank you so much, many of you, for mothering me, and especially to my mom. Happy Mother's Day.